Hello, this is Jeremy, and I am out of town, so I'm recording my presentation on unintended adverse consequences. The setting that I used, I called it Caring Place. It's a psychiatric residential treatment facility in Georgia and South Carolina, and it specializes in treating youth and adolescents that are in foster care with behavioral disorders. And it is a residential facility. The example that I used was the state of Georgia uses a particular form that they require to be filled out on all the foster youth and sent into the state, and it's called the Multipurpose Information Consumer Profile. And it's typically used as kind of a gateway to service authorization from the state, but it lets them know diagnostically what's wrong with the child, some background information about the child. And I actually do have a copy of it over here. It is a real form. It's actually used by the state of Georgia, and providers do have to produce this form on their foster children. As you can see, it has a lot of background information, some setting information, what their legal status is, drug usage, and then you've got mental health and behavioral disorders and what kind of things are going to be done with those disorders and the interventions that they'll be receiving and how often and frequency and that kind of thing. Anyway, so it does exist. It's a real form, but it cannot be directly produced from the EHR at this point in time. So the staff are manually filling out these forms. They're sending them in. It's creating duplicates and discrepancies between the electronic health record and these paper records that they're filling out. And I said that it was discovered by an auditor during the course of an audit. They came in for a clinical audit, and the information that was produced out of the EHR from the audit did not match the information that the state had on file that was submitted on these paper forms. So they informed the clinical director of the discrepancies that they found during the audit, and the clinical director, of course, went on to investigate a little bit more and to determine how these discrepancies were occurring, and this is what they found out. So I said that the risk to the care process is that you could be giving out an incorrect type of therapy or the incorrect medicine to a patient, and you really don't know which one's correct. Is it the electronic health record or the paper record? Because there's discrepancies between them, and you're not sure which one is really correct. And the care process compromise that did occur, so I gave an example of one that we can say did occur, was that a 12-year-old patient that had ADHD got 6 hours group therapy in a single day, which we know would be horrible on that poor child. And the probable cause, of course, for this example is that the required paper form cannot be recreated in the EHR, and it also can't be printed directly from the EHR, so they're having to hunt around, find the information, and fill out the forms and hope that they didn't have some mistakes in what they're writing down. The risk of harm to the patient is that there's inaccurate documentation, which inherently can cause you to get incorrect services, or have the wrong medication prescribed. So that's kind of the risk of patient harm there. And an example of that, one that I said did occur, was a schizophrenic patient received ADHD medication, maybe Ritalin or something of that sort. So the corrective actions here is that you can work directly with the electronic health record vendor, and they can code it so that the makeup form can be available directly in the electronic health record. You want to try to eliminate the manual documentation so that there's no paper records being produced and there's only one source for the information. And you want to train the staff on how to use that new makeup process when it's built into the electronic health record. You might also want to make a policy and procedure to try to prevent paper documentation when it's unnecessary, and you've got to include some sanctions in there, because otherwise people may revert back to their paper processes. I said the steps taken so far was that we're going to put in a review and sign-off procedure for the paper makeups to check for accuracy. Basically, we're going to do kind of like an internal audit on them before they're sent out, and this is just a temporary measure until the electronic health record can be modified. And we started writing the new policies and procedures for paper documentation and manually producing forms. We signed it to the director of IT for the EHR modification and to the director of case management for the policy, procedures, and training. Our progress to date is that we're still working on it. The electronic health record says in about 30 days they'll have this makeup form available to be printed out of the electronic health record. And that's all. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks a lot.